Like the state of Idaho, I also thank you for your service. This is a difficult case, a case we have not been able to settle without you. Without you. That's why you've been called here to help us settle this case. If the court will allow a brief introduction, I know a lot about you with your 12-page or 20-page questionnaires, so I'd like to just make a brief introduction of the defense. I've been an attorney since 1991. I've been both a private attorney and a public defender. And in small county Idaho, there's a lot of us lawyers who do both public defense work and private work. And so over the past 32 years, I've done a bit of both. I've been assigned to 27 murder cases over the course of my career, and they're difficult. They're difficult cases. I was assigned to this case. I'm paid by the taxpayers, and so thank you for paying your taxes. I've had a general practice where I do a little bit of everything, and then I get about one of these difficult cases a year assigned to me, and we do what we can. What does a defense lawyer do? We make sure that our clients' constitutional rights are protected. We make sure that the government does its job. We make sure that proof beyond a reasonable doubt is in place before there's a decision. So with these difficult cases, we resolve 99% of our cases. Less than 1% of cases actually make it to trial. And so I believe the state and the defense, we generally do a good job of resolving our disputes. And sometimes when we can't, then we call on you to resolve it for us. I'm being assisted in this case by John Thomas. He's been an attorney since 1999. He has also both experience in private law firms and public defenders' offices, where he's handled many serious cases. He's received many accolades for his lawyering, and I appreciate him helping me. I also am being assisted by Brandon Hobbs. You've probably seen him, and he's an investigator, and so he's helped us investigate this case. Being a defense lawyer isn't always a popular job, so I appreciate you being respectful towards me, and I'll do the same. I'll be respectful towards you. Some 8 years ago, my law office got bombed, and so some people are really upset by what I do for a living, and so I appreciate you and your ability to decide the facts of this case without emotion overriding your decision. So this case is about Lori Vallow Daybell. The prosecutor has just told you what the government hopes to prove throughout the next month. So what's this story about from our defense perspective, and how does this story include you? So the evidence will show that Lori was born and raised in California. She's lived in California, Texas, Arizona, and Hawaii. She lived in Idaho for less than a month before the event of what you're here to decide. She's one of 6 children. Her parents are still alive. They're retired. She's had an older sister and a brother die, and she also has a sister and a brother still living. She believes in life after death, and she believes she will see her deceased family, including her children, again. She's a beautician by trade. She's worked hard for years in that profession. She's a mother of 3, stepmother of 2, and is now a grandmother of 2 children. The evidence will show that people were attracted to her, as the state has told you. They've been attracted to her pretty smile, her vivacious personality, her fun-loving, happy-go-lucky personality. People wanted to be around her. Her oldest son is Colby Ryan. He was born in 1996 in Texas. He's a handsome young man. He currently lives in Arizona. He has 2 children of his own, making Lori a grandma. Her oldest daughter, Tylee Ryan, was born in 2002 in Texas. She was a ray of sunshine. She had health problems, pancreatitis, painful and debilitating disease, but Tylee did the best she could. Her marriage to Joe Ryan ended, and a painful, long, drawn-out custody battle ensued, and it was hard on all of them. The evidence will show that her next husband, Charles Vallow, was smitten with her, and she with him. He had 2 kids, she had 2 kids, and the blended family lasted over a decade. Lori was such a good, responsible mother to her 2 children that her husband's sister, Kay Woodcock, wanted her to adopt a special needs toddler newborn. Kay Woodcock was the grandma to a child born in Louisiana in 2012, a child with special needs. The child's parents couldn't take care of him because of their own personal problems. Apparently, Kay Woodcock couldn't take care of him either, so she asked her brother, Charles, and his wife, Lori, if they would adopt him, and they agreed. So the child born in Louisiana, the struggling parents, was adopted by Charles and Lori Vallow in 2014, and he became known as J.J. Vallow, Lori's 3rd child. The evidence will show that Lori was a dutiful wife to Charles Vallow. They both worked hard, he at the office and she at home. She was a kind and loving mother to her children. The evidence will show she had a particular interest in religion in the end of times. You will recognize the quote-unquote end of times as something spoken of in the Holy Bible, the New Testament. Most of you will understand when I say that. Some people could care less about biblical prophecies. Some people care a lot about it. Thankfully, in this country, we get to worship how we choose. The evidence will show that once Lori and her friends met Chad Daybell, an author on religious subjects, her beliefs began to morph and to change. And that's where you come into this story, because the stories diverge. So we haven't been able to agree on what happened, and we need you to decide it. So what happened? How did these children die? Who was involved? When did it happen? Where did it happen? Why? Why did it happen? The judge has read to you the allegations, the charges. And so they were read to you 2 weeks ago when you showed up to fill out your questionnaire. They were read again today. And I'm going to read parts of them again because I think it's important to see what she's charged with. And you don't have to write these down, by the way. The jury instructions will be with you in the jury room. Some of you are really good note takers, and some of you will let others take notes. But you don't need to memorize what I'm telling you, because these will be printed out and handed to you in the jury room. So the charge of conspiracy, Chad, Lori, Alex, deceased. Other co-conspirators, both known and unknown. So Chad Daybell is not on trial here. Alex Cox is not on trial here. He's deceased. Other co-conspirators, I don't know much about that, both known and unknown. So again, your focus will be on the actions of Lori, not on Chad, not on Alex, not on co-conspirators, both known and unknown. So that's the conspiracy. I think first-degree murder, the allegations contained in the charge that the judge read to you, was Lori Vallow concerned in the commission of first-degree murder? Did she aid and abet? Did she assist somehow? Or, the language of the charge says, or not being present. Did she advise and encourage it to happen? Or, by command, compelled another. So this charge is, did she kill? Or did she assist? Or did she encourage? Or did she command? So in other words, this charge is saying they're not sure what happened, but yet they want you to be sure. The same with count 3 and count 4 with JJ. Count 5 with Tammy. Did she combine or conspire to commit murder? Did she do the murder? Or did she talk about it? Or did she do something about it? Or did she do an act in furtherance of it? So that's the challenge here for you, is you're going to be given all these alternatives, and you're going to have to be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt. I didn't make up the definition for reasonable doubt, neither did the judge, neither did the prosecutors. But that's our law. He read it to you 2 weeks ago and again this morning, and here it is. Under our law and system of justice, every defendant is presumed to be innocent. This means two things. First, the state has the burden of proving the defendant guilty. The state has that burden throughout the trial. The defendant is never required to prove her innocence, nor does the defendant ever have to produce any evidence at all. The state must prove the crime beyond a reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt is not mere possible or imaginary doubt. It is a doubt based on reason and common sense. It may arise from a careful and impartial consideration of all the evidence, or from lack of evidence. So if you have a lack of evidence, and that's reasonable to you, you're our reasonable people here for the next month. That's a reasonable doubt. If after considering all the evidence or the lack of evidence, you have a reasonable doubt about Lori's guilt, you must find her not guilty. Sorry, all these papers in here, I lost my way. So, there's something called an alibi that was filed as part of this response, part of these allegations. Here's the alibi that was filed on Lori's behalf. Lori Vallow was in her own apartment in Rexburg, Idaho, when J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan died in the apartment of Alex Cox in Rexburg, Idaho. Lori was with Melanie Gibb, David Warwick, and or Chad Daybell. And Lori was in Hawaii when Tammy Daybell died at the home of Chad Daybell in Salem, Idaho. Lori was with Melanie Bedreau and or Audrey Baratario in Hawaii. So that's the alibi filed in this case. And a lot of jurors were excused in this case because of pretrial publicity. We asked you a lot of questions about that, what you knew, what you heard, what if you can set it aside. And so far, still no evidence has been presented to you. So my client is still presumed innocent. And the publicity that has tainted so many people throughout the county, through the state, through the nation, that's not evidence. And so I appreciate all of you stating that anything that you may have heard, a lot of you didn't hear anything, so thank you. But for those of you who did hear something, you can set that aside and start this trial with Lori with a clean slate. You're here to focus on what she did, not on what Chad Daybell did or what Alex Cox did. You're here to determine if there even was a conspiracy. Cases, again, can be solved with evidence. They can be solved with lack of evidence. And when there's lack of evidence, the law calls it not guilty. You said you would be fair and impartial. You said you would have an open mind to not judge her until you heard all the evidence in this courtroom. You said you would do your duty, and I believe you. If what the state has alleged here cannot be proven beyond a reasonable doubt, you said you would find her not guilty. Thank you for your attention.